Friday, January the 8th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Meteorologist Matthew East here along with you. We have clouds and some light rain at times today, some more showers, maybe even a couple thunderstorms late Saturday into Saturday night, and then a transition back to colder weather for next week. I'll take a look at all that and take a peek into the longer range as well here as we go through today's edition of the video. All right, let's start out with a look again this morning at the Beach Mountain Parkway cam, courtesy of ResortCams.com. The temperature at Top Beach Mountain, not too bad this morning, sitting at 38 degrees. Here's a look at the Greensboro Tower camera where it is socked in with fog and drizzle. The temperature there in the Triad, 39. The dew point also 39, so obviously the relative humidity 100% this morning. Now, it was pretty interesting taking a peek at the visible satellite imagery yesterday. The clouds were pretty stubborn over the eastern parts of the Triad viewing area and then over into parts of the Triangle region. So there was a noticeable dip in the high temperatures in that part of the region. You can see that even looking at the southeastern part of the country view as a whole. Let me focus in here, though, on the Triad. You only had 42 for high in Burlington with those stubborn clouds, but look at the difference there in North Wilkesboro and Mount Airy, where 50s were common yesterday. And then in the Charlotte viewing area, pretty much everybody in the 50s. Not a bad day. Not bad at all as yesterday rolled along. But the clouds moved in overnight. We do have some fog in some spots. In fact, less than a tenth of a mile of fog in Raleigh. About a mile and a half at the PTI Airport now in Greensboro. The fog will improve as we get deeper into the day. There's Futurecast. Flip that into visibility mode. But then notice what happens tonight. More fog will again develop across the region. Probably a pretty foggy start to our Saturday on tap. There's your temperatures this morning. Now, the good news is that where there is fog this morning, temperatures are generally above freezing. So not really any big issues with freezing fog this morning. Not a lot of rain, at least measurable type of rain, showing up yet across much of central North Carolina or the foothill regions. But you go further to the west, and that's where you do have some rain. Now, it is decreasing in intensity, and I think that trend continues. You have some pretty good rain in Georgia and Florida, and that band of rain extends all the way up into parts of the Ohio Valley, eventually some snow into parts of the Midwest and the Plain States. But that's where the main energy resides. The main low pressure heading way off to the north of us. So I think we continue to see the intensity of the rain diminishing. That's evident when you take a peek at the high-resolution modeling, the HRRR as well. You can see that the intensity of rain backing down. So I think, for instance, across the Piedmont zones today, maybe a few hundredths of an inch of rain. That's about it. But it will be a cloudy and a cool day. There's your highs across the region for our Friday. And then not a lot of temperature movement tonight. Temperatures may be backing off 2-3 degrees in many spots, and that's about it. Now, tomorrow, here comes the next storm system. This one taking a little bit more far southerly track, and so the result is better lift, better dynamics, and so we have more intense areas of rain. Now, we're not talking a huge rain event, but I just mean more than what we're going to see today. And our best coverage of showers probably comes late Saturday into Saturday night, especially Saturday evening and Saturday night. Showers, could even be a few thunderstorms involved here or there as well. And that's when we could pick up a half to maybe 1 inch of rain in a few spots there as we go through later Saturday into Saturday night. Now, behind that system, the cold air begins to arrive, but due to the timing of this, we actually wind up with a pretty warm day across most of the Carolinas. Now, the exception is the mountains, and notice that northwesterly flow snow kicking into gear on Sunday. Good news for the ski industry there. But again, east of the mountains, Sunday, we squeeze in a pretty mild day. That will not last. Now, let me show you before we go any further. I mentioned this on Twitter and Facebook earlier in the week, but boy, for the big Seahawks-Vikings playoff game, that is Sunday early afternoon, where you see the red dot there, that is where Minneapolis is located. And so you're looking at game time high, or should I say Sunday highs, rather, struggling to make it to -1 or 0 Fahrenheit now. That's Fahrenheit. When you add the wind to the equation, these are wind chill values forecast by the GFS model at roughly game time, and you are looking at indicated wind chills of -15 to -20. So that is going to be a brutally cold playoff game there for the Minnesota Vikings and the Seattle Seahawks up there in Minneapolis Sunday afternoon. Now, that cold air is dropping south. We get a taste of it early in the week, and then the core of the cold air gets here midweek. So, for instance, here's what we're going with for highs Monday. And then that is what we're going with for highs on Wednesday afternoon. Of course, the cold air, good news for the ski industry. Quick look at that ski resort information. Some rain to deal with at times today and tomorrow, but again, the snow kicks back into gear Sunday, and a lot of cold air next week. Now, let me show you some other charts here as we move forward along in the video. Let me get that pulled up for you. Start off there. That's a look at the Canadian model. This is from Tropical Tidbits. That's the Canadian model, valid Tuesday night of this coming week. And that says that a little reinforcing shot of colder air arrives. It's able to wring out enough moisture for a little shot of some very light precipitation. That looks very insignificant. A couple of the other models indicate something similar, but at this point, that looks to be very moisture starved overall. Now, let me go further out in time here, and let's see. Let's pull up. Let's go with this. Okay, now this is going to be the European Ensemble mean, and that's valid at 156 hours. That's out of next Thursday. Notice this big ridge going up into Greenland. That's a big ridge, even a block trying to set up. And so as you go down the road, let me give you a few charts here. Let's take a look at the Canadian. Now this is valid Saturday morning of next weekend, so 8 days from now. This when that late week system arrives. It never really gets its act together with too much significance, at least in terms of, for a lot of us on the Canadian model. Now let me go out here to the GFS. Well, hang on, get my charts out of order here. Stand by. All right, let me just go out to the longer range. I guess I didn't stick the right charts in here. All right, here we go. Yeah, this is on the GFS. This is on the GFS, so the same storm system that you saw in the Canadian. Enough residual cold air that you get a little bit of wintry precip in the mountains and the immediately adjacent foothills as that arrives. And it's kind of a similar scenario on the European, too. It's real close to something fun for winter weather lovers late in the week. But boy, it's still a lot of moving pieces. Nothing to really hang your hat on. It looks like there will be a system Friday or Saturday at the end of next week, but still all kinds of possibilities on the table. And it still looks active in the long range. That's what I was trying to show you. There's the GFS model. This is valid out at Thursday the 21st. Big low pressure offshore. And let's see, I think I had one more in there. Maybe I didn't. I guess that's about it. But anyway, you get the idea. Down the road, we're going to see the storm track remain active. It's just a matter of how much cold air is going to remain around. That'll determine how much winter weather fun and games we try to see down the road. I do think still the pattern looks pretty favorable as we get deeper into January, and I think the February pattern looks very interesting too overall. So winter weather lovers, I think you're going to eventually get the winter weather in here, but still not an overly specific system to hinge on, although I do still have interest in the end of next week, Friday and Saturday. All right, that is it for today's edition of the video. Everybody have a great weekend, and God bless.